Hey everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript party. I just call myself Marty the party in my other thing, and Rhett is my coding buddy. She adds a little bit of chaos to these videos. So yeah, yesterday I sort of went on a rant about TikTok, and it's that in retrospect that there's two really funny things about the video. One was that while I was ranting, TikTok was already unblocked. So I'm just getting mad and just getting all worked up about it, and it's already unblocked, which is hilarious. And then two, I made the comment how I don't really watch my phone and all that, and my wife had already texted and attempted to call me to let me know that TikTok was unbanned and already coming back up again. So I think those are really, really funny. And at the end of the day, you think, okay, so that was vital information that I should have known, but I didn't know because I didn't pay much attention, close attention. And how bad was it? Not bad at all. So, anyways, I did seem to get a little bit more worked up about that than I normally get worked up about things. And I think some of that might be because I'm feeling a tremendous amount of anxiety about this animations. So my animation implementation was what killed my last application that I attempted to build. I botched it. And I feel like there's at least a 35% chance that I will botch it again. And there's two things that could really poison pill this. One is I could do it in such a way that it's so difficult to maintain that it just is not feasible to move forward. Uh, or I could do it in such a way that forces architecturally kind of forces me to do things in such an inefficient way that it can't this draw things properly. And that's like a balance, right? Like sometimes you can write things to be extraordinarily like a lot easier to understand and make sense of, but it has a negative impact on performance. And then sometimes you can make things that are extremely performant but almost impossible to maintain because you can't make sense of it. So this is one of those times where like we are this literally this video could be the video where I do something that means that at the beginning of 2026 I'm working from scratch again. So I don't know. I don't know. But I do know that one of the things I want to be able to do is I want animation. A mesh is either animated or it's not. It's at the mesh level. Um, so if you have two meshes and they need to be animated differently, then those are two different meshes. If you have two meshes and they're identical and they have the identical animation, then they can be one mesh, and two different scenes or um, two different things can use that same mesh as long as the animations are the same, the geometries are the same, materials it's the same, positions the same, rotation is the same. Like there's some things that need to be the same and some things that don't. Um, so and I think animation is one of those things where like you can't have two meshes. You can't have the same mesh have different animations. That's just going to be a hardcore rule of this application. That may be the death of this application, but for now that's a hardcore rule. Um, Now I don't want to have to animate all the properties the same. So I want all the individual properties and the way they're described, their animations are described to all be to be able to be all unique. So like examples of things that might be very different might be like the amount of time that something is animated, or like maybe rotation is animated in a smooth contiguous way, but uh, rotation of y, but rotation of x is discrete. Like every second it rotates on the y-axis, but it's constantly updating along the z-axis or something like that. Like I want them all to be this different. I mean, be able to be completely different from each other. So So in order to ensure that that the animation of a mesh is that, I'm going to put it at the mesh level. And so I'm going to say that there's a list of animations at the mesh level. So I guess the first thing to do is actually to create an animations interface. So we will do that. And by the way, it is a Monday, the 20th, Martin Luther King Day, which is a really big deal here in Georgia, because Martin Luther King was a very, very important in our history of this state. So I'm off today. As a contractor, that also means I don't get paid today, but it is important to have days off. So I'm glad to be off today. And it's like I get paid like on a daily basis, so like it is nice because there's enough days in this pay period that I'll still get like 2 weeks of pay on this paycheck. So that's all good. But anyways, as you could tell, I'm a little anxious about this next step. So Control P, packages, and then comma, and then I animation, and then colon. And so anyways, like I have like ideas of what I want to do in the future, and I think it should be clear that like the way this is like the way this is coded and all that is going to be like not even vaguely close to how it works on the, like, in a month when when we're doing these, like there won't be like a hard coded thing like that. There's going to be functions that create these things and all that. And I think one of the probably biggest weaknesses of Gen X people who were born in the generation that I was born, is we tend to like sort of have ideas of what we're going to do in the future, but not firm plans. So then when we get there, it's like we don't want to build the bridge till we get there. But the thing is I guess from other generations where they do things in a different way, it kind of looks like we're kind of keeping secrets, and that is not the case. I honestly don't know exactly how I'm going to do that when I get there. I just can't do everything at one time, so I'm doing the pieces that make the most sense, that I understand the best as they come up. So that is what is happening here. So let's see, I animation, and then we know it's going to be like, it's easy to make the decision of how to make this thing, right? It's hard to make the decision of what the function that generates a scene is. So that's why at this point I'm doing this. And I only have sort of general ideas of how I plan to do the function and all that. And then when I get there, I'll try to figure that out. So now I'm going to create my animation as per usual. Let me just close all these things up so that it's a little easier to see. So we're expecting an animation to show up right before camera in there. So animation, and then we're going to have that. Actually, it just hit me just now that yesterday we added something. I believe it was it mesh? I don't know, but we do whatever it was. Material, geometry. Let's see. So we have renderer. See, this will be a lot easier if we put this in alphabetical order. Okay, so we have our camera. Let's see. We have, what's after camera? Geometry. Yes, we have our geometry. I felt like I missed one of these yesterday in this barrel file. Geometry. And then when I remembered it, it was like it was after the video, and then I was like, oh, let me change that. I was like, no, let's not do that. Let's do it after. Okay, yeah, so, yeah, no, there's material. material, and after material comes mesh. So these are actually in the order that they were created, not alphabetical order. It's just a little easier to check everything. Okay, then renderer is next. And then, oh, scene. So scene is not in here. QRST. And then I'm wondering if that's going to cause. Now, I'm wondering if in app, I'm pretty sure I used scene. So, yeah, see, then it brought it in there. And I don't really want to do it that way. I want to do it up here. Scene. And then let's go ahead. And yeah, that was just kind of one of those things that I just remembered. And then I remembered render M. I remembered it, and then as I was typing, I remembered. So I just took a quick detour. And that is actually usually when I'm like really feeling anxious about like some coding I'm doing. That is one of my major tells. All right, so now let's do animation. I think I'm just kind of stalling to give my brain a little bit more time to think through things. But I just like I know the first time that I did animations, I think I even remember saying in the video that I did it when I did animations last time that there was probably 100% chance that I was poison pilling the application and doing something that will cause me to not do an irreparable damage that will cause me to not be able to continue with the application. I would say at this point I have like maybe a 25% chance, maybe a 33% chance of doing something so bad in this that I am not going to be able to recover, and I'm going to have to start a new application next year because of the decision that I'm making right now. So I'm a little nervous about that, but you know what else can I do? You know, like that. All I can do is my best. So that's what I'm doing. Um, and hopefully I don't. But even if I don't mess this up, I will likely mess up. Like whenever I go to integrate like a physics engine or a like one thing that I saw is that you can make an export of a specific div to an MP4. I think that would be pretty useful. You know, because then you could set the actual size and width perfectly of any video that you want to make, which I think would be a pretty cool feature. But anyways, so we know an animation. I'm trying to think of like different things that you could have in an animation, and I know one of them is like temporal, right? Like, and that can be like limited. I'm just gonna say limits. So like basically like, oh, this goes from 0 to 3 seconds, or infinite. So the way this is coded at this point, this is like an infinite time. It doesn't reset after a certain amount of time. It just goes on forever and ever. As the time gets bigger, the rotation gets bigger. So it's just an infinite thing. And then I think the redraw, and I think redraw would be like how often. So is it discrete? So discrete to me would mean that every second it jumps from one state to another, or continuous. And this would mean that like at a half a second, it's halfway to the next. Like let's say it's a 1 second. Yeah, so halfway where continuous to be at half of the time amount. it would be redrawn. I mean, it would be halfway there. At a quarter, it would be a quarter way there, like we're doing it. But discrete would be like, let's say there's 10 seconds. At the 1 second mark, it just pops to that next spot. Pop, 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 pop. That's something I always like kind of had a hard time. Like I kind of wanted that sometimes. Sometimes I just wanted like something just happen. I didn't want a nice smooth um, thing. Um, and then time is a number. And I guess we'll just say like 0 for infinite. Well, I guess for infinite, we won't even care about time. Um, and then I guess it should have its values. Values, which is, I think values can only be either strings or numbers. So we're going to say um, st animation value types. And that's going to be an array. And it's upset because we don't have an st animation value types, but st will do that, take care of that now. And I'm like literally like did not think of this until just now. So like I'm not, it's not like I'm holding out on everybody. I'm just, we're going to have export, we have interface, and then I think like that. And then, oh, no, I think we want export. It's a type. And then types is equal to, and that, yeah. And right now, I think the two types is either number or string. So basically, in the last time that I built one of these, I had like the ability to put words on there, and I wanted to kind of have a timer, and all I had was the. I think I'm doing better now. I've perked red up. Um, she was dead silent, and I just did a video on like that I it's called a playlist that I call Use It or Lose It, where I was pretty much just all politics, and she didn't say a word. So that I took that as kind of a sign that um, I wasn't really happy. I'm not really happy about doing that. I don't like it, but I just something I feel like I'm compelled to do as a trying to be a good American citizen. Um, so I'm not happy about that, but she was dead quiet, so I could just tell that it probably wasn't a very good video. Now this one, though, I could tell that it's probably better because, it's probably because this is something that I feel like I know about and care about. But the point is I wanted to be able to do I think that two things, if you can achieve two really good things in a sort of an animation kind of thing, and one you've accomplished a lot. And one is a really good countdown. But I only had numbers that you could animate, like from like moving something from 0 to 10 or something like that. I didn't have like milestones that you could like, okay, so 3 and then 2 and then like not like the string. And it would have been nice to have that in my animation, is to actually be able to change things. Now I kind of was able to kind of accomplish that by having 3 different meshes, and then like one would come and one would go or whatever. But and then that's like the other thing is like the discrete would have been nice. um and then yeah, so anyways, I feel like this is a good collection of things. Like you have to say whether it's got limits or if it's infinite. You've got to know, and the limits don't have to be just two, right? Like there could be 10 of them or something like that. Um, and it could be based on these values. And these values can be either numbers or strings. Um, and it'll be up to the animation code to figure out what to do with certain things. The redraw is either discrete, so on the second, or continuous. Um, and so, um, and I don't know. I don't know. Maybe at some point I'll want to add like, right now it could just be discrete. Well, so, okay, so I think discrete would work based on the number of objects and the amount of time. So if the time is infinite, then it's just going to be on the seconds. But if it's limited, like, so let's say it's 10 seconds and I have 10 items, then it would update 10 times. But if it was 10 seconds and I had 5 items, then it would update every 2 seconds. And if it was 10 seconds, I had 100 items, it would update every tenth of a second. So, so I think that makes sense. The time totally makes sense. Um, I guess it is very interesting from a philosophical perspective. I guess a time of zero would be appropriate. Time is irrelevant, I guess, for infinite, but if you were gonna make a time, I guess zero would be the right time, which is kind of funny, because like infinite and zero in some ways are the same thing, right? Like it kind of goes back to like before the creation of zero, people generally believed that if you subtracted everything from everything, you still had everything. But after the creation of zero, in our human consciousness, everything minus infinity minus infinity, a lot of people argue whether that is zero or whether it's still infinity. Um, but anyways, so there's that. Um, and then values is just a list of things. So I love that. Okay, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling a little better about all that. Um, Thank you, Rhett. So basically, an S and a yeah, Rhett. Um, so that is an ST animation and ST animation, and I guess this is animations, and this is animation array. And I don't know why it's not blue. And that I would actually love to know if that annoys other developers or if it's just me. Um, but it seems like it should be blue. So now we should have a small breakage that's very easy to fix. And it should be upset that it doesn't have that my mesh here does not have an ST animation. Or animations, colon. All right, so now we have our animations and we're good. And then basically, oh man, we're probably missing the thing I was feeling the most anxiety about is the alias. I'm going to call it alias, which is a string. And this is going to be how you'll know what is being animated. And so, and an alias, I want to limit the what can be in here. So basically it's an alias type. And this I have thought a lot about. So, and I guess maybe that is why people in my age group seem like such jerks to, like, we seem like we hide stuff. Because yeah, this I have done a lot of thinking about. So basically, I only want strings that correspond to paths. So I have three things right now, and I'm hoping I can do it like this, just because I think it'll be easier to read. Because I think this list will get. I'm hoping this list gets gigantic. Okay, so this is going to be sort of a lookup, and it's going to be a lookup, and I've been thinking about this for like months now of how to do this. So this is the big moment for me. This is a very big moment. So in a mesh, and this is kind of a okay. The problem. Okay, so for now, this makes sense as using this as my path. So like I know these rotations can be. These are the three paths that I think are reasonable for, that are legal to animate. ST rotation, and then I think minus STX, and then ST rotation STY, and then, so in the future, the way I imagine this happening is if I want to make something legally animated, you would have to map it out, right? You have to say, oh, okay, this is where it lives in this object. But if you go back to here, and this is what ChatGPT called custom aliasing. And oh yeah, so this is a real pain. Okay, so in here, see each one of these. Okay, so I am uploading. I'm just kind of thinking, okay, yeah, so there's only one. When my animation is sitting here at the mesh, okay, so it's going to know what the mesh is. So it'll look in here and it'll say, okay, this is at ST position, and STX is where I find the object that I care about. And I guess that doesn't really matter here because, and it's not STP, it's ST rotation. So this gives it sort of a map of what we're talking about. Now, I don't think that is what the map we want, though. What we want is the map to this thing here. Mesh rotation X, mesh rotation Y. Yeah, so that was wrong. Okay. So I think it's supposed to be mesh dash rotation dash X is what we want to map to, not this, because this is actually useless information. So when this render comes up, this animation thing comes up, it's like, oh, okay, I know what to update because this is mapped here in this object that I'm looking at, and it's called mesh rotation X. And I'm probably not giving enough information to truly understand where I'm headed to, but let's see. And the only reason I'm kind of being like not super explicit right now is because like literally my whole brain is being used by this. So this mesh rotation X right here, let me hit Alt back. Let's see if I can go back. Maps to this. right here. So this is my way of saying this is the object in ThreeJS that I want to update. Let me go back here. And now does the name, yeah, so alias. So I think I should call it 3. So it's a little bit more likely that I understand that this is not my alias. Because I think I initially thought, even myself, even though I've been thinking about this kind of nonstop for months on end now, I immediately went, oh no, this is mine. But no, this is the ThreeJS path, the path. And let's say path alias type. So this is a path alias. And so there'll have to be some code that knows how to break this down and turn it from an alias path to a ThreeJS path. And then, like in this is going to be an infinite, and it's going to be a, like, just a number that we do. So, because there's really no reason why this has to be like that. I could be like this, right? So this is, the time is just growing, so the time divided by 2000. So like I could just say, I believe I could do, what is like 1 divided by 2000? What do you mean I have no internet? I swear my internet has just been dropping in and off like crazy lately. 0.005. Okay, so I think I could just change this to 0.005. I can just do this. And that might actually be big. It may like move a lot faster. Plus 0.0005. And so this is along the x-axis, so I think it's, yeah. Let's see, let's get rid of y. Kind of seems like it's not rotating at all. So maybe I've misunderstood something. Or maybe it's moving, oh, it's moving really slow. And I do think that it is actually smoother than it was before. So there's really no reason to do the time, but I guess, you know, that does kind of bring up that I probably should have a way to do like a function based on, like, or a function that takes the time and then returns something. So time isn't really the right value for that though, right? Because, oh no, the time is how often it would repeat if it did repeat. Values is where that number would be. And I guess values can also be a function that returns a number. Let's see. Let's see if our internet is working. What is the TypeScript? A function that returns a number or a string. And actually, it's a function that accepts a number and returns a number or a string. So I don't know if internet's down again. But we do have an example here in our app component. Yeah, this is actually what we want. Something along these lines. And I don't know, okay, what its problem is. Let's see. Number or that was wild. I have found that had to do with like my network latency or something. What in the world? Okay, I don't think that is what I wanted. I think I'm doing this a little different. Oh man. Okay. Hey Rhett. Okay, so I like that, but I do want this to be different, but I don't understand. Example function. What if I want to strongly type an attribute must be a function that accepts a time and returns either a number or a string? Question mark. ChatGPT can make mistakes. Gosh, I wonder if my internet is just that slow. I'm going to turn my internet on and off. My internet connection lately has been very wonky, which is funny because we have AT&T internet, and there's these people that hang out at the Walmart by our house constantly trying to sell us AT&T internet whenever we walk around. But we actually have two internets because we really need our internet to be reliable. And okay, let me try this again. Because I don't think that, yeah, they're this slow. Yeah. Okay, so I think I want that. Okay. I think this is what I want. Oh, maybe that was the problem. It was probably this. No. Okay, I really want to understand what I got wrong. Well, it's still... So it's happy with this. Oh, maybe it was the semicolon. I don't think so, though. I don't know. I'm really, really lost on this one. Okay, so let's do this. Maybe, because I want to do an array, but I guess if it's a function, I don't want like an array of functions. So I'm just going to call this value function and kind of handle that complexity over there. So I'm saying, what I'm trying to say here is that like up here, this is an array, like an explicit array of strings and numbers. Or is it the fact that I made it a type? No, that's a type. Export type st value function equals that. And spelling it properly would be helpful. All right, so I do like that actually better. An array of functions would have definitely been weird. So I guess what I'll probably try to do is write the code in such a way that it checks to see if there's a function. And I think this should be a number. Should this be a number? I wonder what we get over here. I think it's just a number, but I'm not exactly sure. See over here, I say it's a number, console log. So let's just go ahead, console log time. I think it is just a number. It's probably like the number of milliseconds since it started or something like that. Console. Yeah, it's just a number. Let's see. So we get rid of that, and then over here, I'm going to change it from a time from a date to a number. So basically, we've made it to where like we can have a function where you pass it in the existing time at this point. You know what? I'm just going to call this a time function. And I'm going to make that optional. So we have a time function that is not, you do not have to have it, or a values function, which you do have to have at the very least an empty array. And I think I'm thinking I'm going to code it to say if there is a value time function, that is what we use. If there isn't, check to see what's in the values function, and then whatever, assume that that is the right thing to do. Right now we're saying that mesh.rotation.x is one place it can go, mesh.rotation.y is one place it can go, mesh.rotation.z is someplace that can go. So we need a utility function that knows how to take a mesh and take one of these and update the proper item. Now I know that we're also going to have lights, so that'll probably be like light dot whatever dash in the future. I'm hoping that I haven't messed that up at this point. I don't think I have, but I hope I don't have to do a massive like a refactor to handle lights, X's and Y's and Z's. Let's go ahead and just come over here. Sort of kind of get back to where we were, but I do think this is a better. I guess it would be like, be really interesting just to say just time. And times time 0.1. So we'll make it 10. And it should speed up as time gets bigger and bigger. But maybe not. It seems like it's well, except that it's continuing the rotations. But you would think that number would get bigger. But I guess sometimes, if it's sometimes it's going to sense that the sense is going to feel like it's bigger. Sometimes it's going to feel like it's smaller because at 360 degrees, like if time is 10, it's in radius, so that's 2.14. So it's doing four full rotations, which you wouldn't even be able to really perceive. I guess that's why 0.01 seems so much faster. And it's actually getting slower. It's our sense. It's actually rotating faster, but the way our eyes are, the way it's being presented is it appears slower as the number gets bigger, which I think does make sense because it's just rotating like 5 full times around or whatever, so you don't really perceive it. But that is that. I think that's really cool, and we're probably on long. Yeah, 47 minutes is a long time. I'll tell you this. My other video is like 35 minutes. It felt like 10 times longer than this to me. Because politics just is not nearly as interesting to me as code. Code is awesome. What am I doing next? What is the next video about? I think the next video we're actually going to have to start, or it's an idea. The idea is to start actually doing these calculations. But before we can start these calculations, we'll need to create a utility that I guess it will accept a mesh and actually update. It'll accept the mesh. Okay, yeah, a function that accepts the actual ThreeJS mesh and the scene, and then I guess it can't accept the ThreeJS in the scene. I guess it'll accept the ThreeJS mesh and the show time mesh, show space and time mesh. It'll accept both of those. No, I guess it'll accept the animation. Yeah, it'll accept the animation and the 3JS mesh, and then it'll update the proper thing. So, but I guess before we do that, we'll need to create an actual animation in here, which, let me see, that is, did I manage to accomplish what I couldn't accomplish last time? Okay. So this is the alias for a specific animation. So yeah, I think it'll have to be, yeah. So we're actually forcing it. So we can only use we can only update one of these three things. and then we'll also have all this other information about it. And yeah, we can really go a long ways towards getting that all that stuff working. We can create functions. We can, yeah, we'll be able to do all kinds of stuff. Um, Build out all kinds of stuff for that. And it is a bit foggy for me, like how that's all gonna play out. But I think the first thing will be, I guess, to create one of these animations, and then the second thing will be to have update this code here to then iterate over the meshes, and then iterate over the animations, and then pass the existing mesh, which right now we only have one mesh, so there won't be. But the final code will be a little bit more complicated because it'll also have to iterate over these meshes, and it's going to be the easiest. The most obvious solution would be to add this mesh to here. Oh, but see, we have an ID. So, anyways, yeah. So in our yeah, I'm trying to figure out a really good way to slowly kind of progress through this stuff. But like, yeah, how we tie this mesh to this mesh is going to be like a bit complicated, um, and our current architecture doesn't really support a good way to do that. But I do think that there will eventually be um, an ST meshes service, and in that service, it will have a dictionary of what ST mesh, and each ST mesh will have its own ID, and then there'll be a dictionary of which mesh, ThreeJS mesh, matches up with which ST mesh. Um, so in that dictionary, it'll be able to know what to do to update for an animation what it's supposed to do. So that's all going to be, it's all like I said that probably in the most clear and direct way I can say it, because because it is not super clear and direct in my mind how it's all going to work. So, anyways, this is a just an absolutely insanely critical part of this application. Like, if I mess this up, um, then we're talking complete rebuild. This time next year, it'll be a complete rebuild because of this decision that I made today. So, I'm taking it really, really seriously. Anyways, happy coding, everybody. Bye.